With its stylish and futuristic aesthetic, this doesn't look like a typical family SUV. It looks better. The luxurious rear seats like the front can recline and move forwards and backwards. Take a trip to the front and you'll find it littered with 21st century screens to make any millennial jealous. A boot which is big enough for even your biggest imaginary family. And then let's not forget its RoboCop style party tricks. Gone are the days of the 4x4 name, because now you have something called SUVs, sports utility vehicles. But we've evolved so much as people that we want something called sports activity vehicles, or Coupé SUVs. And that's exactly what the Q8 is. But don't be mistaken, the 4x4 name might have disappeared from its naming franchise, but you'll be surprised because this is more 4x4 than you think. Because when you get inside the Q8 and start it up, and it gives you its inaugural welcome chime, wait for it, never get tired of that, you simply go to the drive select button, which is underneath here, and you select the sort of mode that you want to be in. So if you click off-road, the car will raise itself and you'll be able to have very, very nice ground clearance. But then if you want to go and be all bougie and impress your friends outside of a restaurant or make people wonder who has this beautiful car, you select dynamic. And then that now puts the car in its lowest setting, so it looks like it's stanced, and you put all the coilovers and aftermarket suspension, when in fact it comes factory like this. And how cool is that? But it's more than that too, because the interior of this car isn't just bare bones like you think it would be. This car doesn't have one, not two, but three screens on the interior. The first one is the virtual cockpit, which Audi has pioneered in the industry. That basically takes all the driver information such as speed and map and puts it in front of you. The second one is flash on the dash. That's got your Apple CarPlay, car information. You can change all the lights for interior and anything else you want from car information. But the third one is a really, really interesting one, because we're so used to retro knobs and buttons for air conditioning. But here, it's now a fully digital touch screen. So you can change the climate, you can even change stuff for the rear passengers if you wanted to. But the only issue I have with it is this, because every time you're touching it, you're leaving a nice, beautiful finger mark all over the screens. And if you're a criminal and you're watching this, well, we'll know exactly who you are. But if you're me and you're OCD and you want to have things clean, it's gonna irk you. And the thing is, they should have chucked in a microfiber cloth, because to be honest, I don't like seeing sticky finger marks all over my screen. OCD aside, the finger marks aren't the only thing that's distracting when you drive. So now that I've lived with the Q8 for some time now, I will say there is a niggling issue with the screens, and it's the fact that there's no physical button. If you want to move anything on here, that's aircon or change a song, radio, you name it, you have to use your finger. And it doesn't sound like much, but the fact that you have to take your eyes off the road, which is kind of a contradiction, shouldn't be doing that anyway, you have to put all your attention down here because there's no physical button. And it's nice to know that this technology wows us and we always want the touch screen and all of that to impress us, but sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of an analog button, bringing the retro back, because it's weird. We always want modern technology, but we always find ourselves wanting something that's old school and, you know, touch and feel. And that's what I feel that it's missing inside this modern cabin. But all those small little things disappear and fade away when you get in and drive it. The Q8, you would think, as a SUV coupe, as its name, would be small and cramped and not a very pleasant place to see or look out of, but you'd actually be wrong. The car is fitted with amazing glass, and when I say that, it's not an exaggeration. The panoramic roof and the wide open windows gives this car a sense of airiness and comfort. You don't feel claustrophobic, and if you come to an intersection like this where you need to navigate and turn left or right, I can easily see out of the windows without being obstructed by weirdly placed panels. It's actually quite a pleasant place to be in. With the Q8 fitted with air suspension, going in through suburbs that have badly maintained roads or even speed humps, you don't really feel it. It's very, very luxurious. Not only that, you're surrounded by luxury inside and out. One of the party pieces I will mention is the windows. It's fitted with some sort of noise insulated glass, so you can't hear anything when you're inside the car. It's nice and quiet, you can have a conversation, drink your drink, open it, and all of a sudden you can hear the grass being cut, you driving over cobbles, the air, the wind, birds. It's quite noisy. So whatever tech they've fitted onto this, it's really nice. And I'm getting to see why I've spent the amount of money I would on a Q8. You're also spending it on a very good engine. This particular version of the Q8 is the 3-litre V6 turbo diesel. It makes 183 kilowatts and 600 newton meters of torque, which is plenty power for the everyday user. But this is by far the most impressive V6 diesel I've ever driven to date, because I went and took it to a fuel station, filled it up to its tank, and that's 85 litres, and on a single tank I got 1,000 kilometers for a journey. That's absolutely incredible, especially considering that this car weighs 2 tons. It's absolutely phenomenal. Overall, this Q8 is absolutely impressive. The engine is superb. The luxury that you're surrounded in, comfortable seats. You can see why you'd spend this amount of money on a car. Sure, there are a couple of issues, but one of the things that stands out completely about this car is its road presence, because either way you look at it, this is one of the most stylish and absolutely beautiful looking cars that you can get on sale right now. Don't be fooled by my arsenal of vocabulary, because this car really does turn heads, and it gets better, especially after 6 p.m. The difference with this car is literally day and night, because like this car looks subtle on the outside and looks very good looking, it transforms completely when you pull up to a traffic light and you can admire everything at night. The neon lights in this car, with a variety of 30 different colors, changes the theme of this completely. And then you've got the 3 screens on the go, where one is doing all your music and Apple CarPlay, one is doing aircon, one is doing night vision and car information. You literally feel like you're in a spaceship. It's completely a different experience, and there's nothing like this. So for Audi to say that this is the flagship, I can totally believe it. One of the most impressive things about this car, and you're going to hear me say that a lot, impressive, because that's exactly what this car is its LED matrix lights. Now, that isn't new technology for Audi. It's been implemented for all their top flagship models. But what this does is it projects individual lights of beams where it is dark and you can't see any further than your eye can. And what that does is it illuminates your driving experience completely. But don't think that this is going to be a terrible experience, because as you drive, it lights up parts that are dark, but should an oncoming car come towards you, it'll blank and dip out individual beams. So you can technically drive on full beam at night without blinding the opposite driver. And that for me is living in a perfect world. So I know what you're thinking. After all that I've explained about this car, should you actually buy one? And I'm here to tell you that you should. These cars don't really exist in many people's worlds, because why would you want a coupe version of an SUV? And I know what you're thinking. Cars are just supposed to be cars from time to time. Why do we have to fill gaps and niches? But unfortunately, that's just the position that we find ourselves in. But it does give those who are looking for this option a really good idea of what you can get. And they're great competitors from the likes of Mercedes-Benz and anyone else who's competing in this space. But if you ask me, between Mercedes-Benz and a BMW and an Audi, it's going to be a tough one, because in all honesty, those are all great cars, but you always find that one is a complete tech fest and the other one is a sporty, aggressive car. But I find myself leaning a lot towards this, mostly because I find it to be a well-balanced car. It's got the tech, it's got the screens, it's got just the right amount of performance that I need. And for me, making a purchasing decision at the end of the day, the Q8 sells it best for me. So if I was going to look for something in this space that's stylish, going to age well, got the performance and everything that I would need to wow my friends at the dinner table, this is exactly what I'm going to choose. So, a daily driven flagship with all the bells and whistles. Should you do it? Is it worth it? The answer is if you're after practicality, or if you're just plain keeping up with the Joneses. But I know which family I'd rather want to be with.